bevo.com.
John, you once said that you've remained in banking for almost 30 years because you love the people side of the business. And in fact, I quote, "I like the element of advising people, the element of trust, the element of theatre in the business. It's fascinating because it's all about the human condition." So is this, you think, one of the reasons why you've been so successful? And do you think enough CEOs put the people side as high enough on the agenda?
No, I think good CEOs, good leaders are inherently realize that their biggest resource is the human factor. And I think really good CEOs understand the purpose of a corporate culture, the purpose of human dignity in the workplace, and respecting each individual's contribution to the team, namely the mosaic, the composite, sort of the whole, is greater than the sum of the parts.
John, I was once told you've got a lot of time for high performers, not that much time for the low performers. So in actual fact, you can be a disaster for the low performers that are hanging out around you. But do you think Jack Welch was right about the bottom 5–10% and moving them on? And how do you deal with the level of talent you've got in a group?
So there's an element of the 360 evaluation process where people are evaluated by people who they work for, and they evaluate people sort of above them. They evaluate their peer groups, and they're evaluated. And part of that process is actually aimed at finding people's strengths as well as the areas that need further development. So I think it's important, first of all, before you can manage people and decide who the bottom 5% is in your sort of Jack Welch concept, you first of all need to decide what people's strengths and weaknesses are, because you can't compare people. Not all people are apples, not all people are bananas, not all people are pears. No two people are alike, and if you're a good manager, you'll spend most of your time understanding someone's strengths, and you'll manage around their weaknesses. It's very important you do that. Successful organizations have strong people who actually are complemented by people who supplement their weaknesses. If you think you have very strong people who are perfect, you are not living in the real world. Very strong people have support systems that compensate, cover up, or modify their weaknesses.
Perfect, because I think we're sort of brought up in the sort of educational world as well. Even at school, you've got 3 A's in this, and you've got 4 D's in 4 other subjects. You're focused to get the D's to C's, as opposed to just focusing on your A group. So that's almost like it comes through. But in business, what you're saying is absolutely focus on the strengths and support and allow for the weaknesses.
No two people are alike, and a good manager will actually cultivate and nurture someone's strengths. And a lot of it has to do with bringing out someone's self-confidence and nurturing them, taking an interest in them personally, taking an interest in their career, letting them take some risk and see where they can thrive, but being very tough with them on areas where they need further development. It's a bit like growing a tree. At some point the tree needs to be allowed to grow, bigger root system, and then at some point the tree has to be pruned, and sometimes very aggressively. And if it's pruned very aggressively and you get the shape of the tree you want, then you let it grow for a couple of years, and then you shape it again. And there's a very specific discipline about tree pruning, and a lot of that discipline actually is analogous to how people are allowed to evolve. You don't want to ever inhibit the creative process, the innovative process. You want great people to evolve, but at the same time, you have to you have to provide some guidance, some parameters. You've got to nurture, but at the same time, you have to discipline.
So mentorship, is that something
I think mentoring is important. You have to encourage. You get so much more from talented people by sitting down with them and saying, you did 5 great things over the last 6 months. Let me tell you about them. And let me tell you why they're great. And I think one of the society things that's happened in the last several years is people have become very self-critical and very competitive. And senior management doesn't take enough time. And one of the reasons for it is, I know what I'm good at. Just tell me what I'm bad at. Well, actually, you may know what you're good at, but you actually need to hear about it, and you need to think about it, because it tells you a lot more about yourself and will help you actually become even more self-aware.
bevo.com.